Diamond Bank, and I think he has joined us. Let's see how we can get him to join us. So once he joins, we expect to start up immediately. Good afternoon, Mr. Uzoma.
How are you?
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm sparkling, fabulous.
I know you're sparkling. People have to join us. I'll go straight to some of the questions. How you just transitioned from a top banker to a tech, a digitech expert. You own a business in the digitech sector now. How did this? You want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay. Simply, myself is very simple. In fact, my working life, I worked in a bank all my life, so I did 25 years of banking, 20 of them at Diamond Bank, and the last 4.5 was as MD of Diamond Bank. But Diamond Bank was a platform that used technology and digital to provide services for our customers and create solutions and to create solutions. So anybody who's worked in Diamond Bank will tell you that right from the get-go, whether they spent a year there or a few months or a lifetime in terms of work in Nigeria, you wouldn't leave that place without having an appreciation of what technology can do for you, how you can use it to leverage your business and to create new products and solutions. And so it wasn't so this transition, as you call it, is just the next phase in taking what we had done in Diamond Bank to the next level, to the new level, to the level where our philosophy was, the next phase of life is digital. The future of Africa is digital, and if you're not, at any business today, if you start your business today without an appreciation of some digital component, you're going to struggle to be competitive.
So you mean there's a bit of passion in it? If behind your background in Diamond Bank, as in banking, you had a bit of tech, it means that, and now you're going into tech full time, it means that there's a passion thing connected to what you're doing.
So I want to. There's a myth that I love technology. I don't like technology. There are a few things that I like, a few values that I hold. I want to be free. When I think back when we were young, when we were growing up, we were not that free. We were limited by many things. We were not free in terms of access of information or a choice to do what we had to do. When I went to a bank, you had to go to a bank to do a transaction. You had to go to a bank to do your business. You had to ask people for information. People were custodians of information. And so for me, technology allows you to be free. That is one. That is key. Technology allows you to provide services to areas where you would never have been able to do that in a very cost-effective manner. Just take banking today. Having an account 30 years ago was the preserve of the affluent, the established in society. Now, everybody should have an account, but getting an account to them, it cannot be done in the traditional manner. It has to be using technology. And so for me, it is how can I help people? And what is the best medium to help them? And it clearly is technology. And it's leveraging on technology, understanding it, and seeing how it has been used, not just in banking, but in different areas. And that's what we did in Diamond Bank. And to do that, first of all, was, how do we move how do we move from cash to cashless? Because we know the cost of cash and how it physical items actually inhibits flexibility and movement. We moved from paper to paperless. So it meant that I was not bogged down in the office signing documents or have to come back to office to sign documents. It could be done mobile. So we had a mobile first philosophy. So those are the things that we said, okay, why are we interested in technology? We're interested in technology because, it allows us to do so much more, right, in a fraction of the time, and for so many people, and also to do the things that we thought of, this would be nice to do, but now we can do it because we're not looking at it from a physical perspective, but a digital one.
So what does one go through from being to become a master of your craft? I mean, how do I put this now? I mean, what does one go through to be taken seriously in a space?
Well, I would guess it's like results. So, look, everybody. I mean, for me as a person in Nigeria, what I always wanted to do was help people. I wanted to help people get on with their business, do their business better. I wanted to help individuals transform people's lives. That's why we're interested in financial inclusion. If you ask me, that's why we're interested in diversity. But how do you do that? And to do that, it's okay. This is what I want to do. What's the best way to do it? How can I scale? In Nigeria, we talk about, we have great solutions in Nigeria. There are many people, through my show on Tech Talks, I've talked to many Nigerians that are doing many things, but the issue is scalability. How do you scale things? And the only way to scale things is technology. And the best way to do that, as you ask, what's the best way to do that, is get the people who can do it. And so what are you trying to solve? What is the best way to solve it? And who are the people that can solve it? So I will tell you today at Sparkle, we only have a couple of bankers at Sparkle. We have some great tech people. We have some great creative and innovative people, because it takes a lot of people to actually deliver. And so it is get the people that can help you. So what is it that you were trying to solve, and what is the medium in which you can solve it? Technology happens to be the one. And how, and then who are the people, who are the experts? Because it's a wide area, and you need people that have experiences in that field. And in different, not only banking, there are a few things that we have used technology to do in banking, but I'm sure if you go to even the fashion industry, the food industry, you will see a lot of people that have done a lot of stuff in that area, and that's what we're trying
So you want to tell us a bit about the? Okay, go ahead, please.
No, go on.
Yeah, you want to tell us a bit about Sparkle?
Okay, so Sparkle, what's Sparkle? Sparkle is interesting. Sparkle is a digital ecosystem. It's a tribe. It's a tribe of individuals and small businesses that do their business in a digital way. And so what Sparkle does is provide lifestyle, business support services, and financial services to these individuals. In layman's terms, we're a digital bank, but we're so much more than that. And to give you a simple example, on the consumer side, why are we different from physical banks? We're different because we've taken things like payments and said, okay, how can we help people make payments so much easier? And I like to give examples of things. I go to a restaurant with a few of my friends, and the bill comes, it's 20,000 naira, and then it's okay, we're sharing the bill. There's so much complexity. Something that could take 30 seconds takes 5 minutes, and it's sometimes days for those who don't pay you. But what if one of you could pay, and then you could now share the bill with your friends as a request, and all they do is say yes, 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 and the money comes to you. Another example is people, you send your driver to the supermarket, and you tell them when you get there, find out the price of this item, and then send me a text back, and then I will send the money to you. That's very complex. Why can't guy just go to the supermarket, find out the item is 12,000 naira, send you a payment request for 12,000 naira, and say 12,000 naira for these melons, and you press accept, and the money goes to him. So that's payment. On savings, you're saving automatically without thinking. So you can choose to save every time you spend. It takes 1%, 2%, 3%. You decide, or save every week automatically. And on the business side, on the small business side, first of all, the first thing that we're doing uniquely is that we're enabling small businesses to open accounts without actually having to go to a bank. Secondly, we have built a solution from the ground up. So we didn't buy a banking application and then retrofit it for small businesses. We said, what are small businesses doing in Nigeria? What are their challenges? Because small business challenges in Nigeria are different from the ones that you will see in UK, because we are at different stages of infrastructural development. So a small business even in Lagos is different from a small business in Owerri because of infrastructural change issues. But beyond that, it was like beyond access to finance, as you say, that small business, or access to market. Small businesses don't pay tax because they don't understand it. They don't know how to do it. Yeah. The cost of getting the consultant and the ever-changing laws. But then, even if all small businesses in Nigeria today said, okay, you know what? I want to pay my taxes. That's over 40 million. You don't have 40 million tax consultants, or the number of tax consultants that can help them. So these things require a digital solution, one that can scale. And that's where we come in. So we're saying, beyond, we need to digitalize business support services. And so we're leveraging on artificial intelligence. We have a chatbot that's going to learn everything that we're going to teach it, and it's also going to learn about the customers and be providing proactive solutions for them. So those are a few things that we're trying to bring to the market to help individuals have better experiences and connect their lifestyle to their businesses. And like today, I mean, we're on Instagram now doing Insta Live. Now, do you know how many small businesses actually use Instagram to do their business? But if you see the business flow, it is, okay, they advertise their goods, then they tell you, okay, pay me, and then send me a DM, and then XY. It is very complex and different system. Now, if you're a successful business, you would actually have to employ 2 or 3 people to actually manage that complex process. At Sparkle, we're finding a way to make it very simple, so you yourself can manage your business with minimum staffing.
So it means that your banking background, you use it to look at all the pressure points, the frictions that exist between the customer and his banking and business needs, and then you're coming up with individual solutions to meet these needs. Is that what Sparkle is?
Yeah. So and you're right. Banking has helped expose me to how what people's businesses. It also helped us to see what the challenges are having a physical bank and what you could do if you were fully digital. But really, there's a place in this market for physical structures, definitely. We always need ATMs, we always need a bit of cash. But there's also a place for digital. There are people who decide, you know what, I just want to live a digital life. 20, 30 years from now, it's probably going to be 75, 80% digital, 20% physical or cash. But what this current coronavirus pandemic has shown us is that, one, businesses are never going to be the same again. I mean, so you look at, as you start your business, today, you think, how many people do I actually need to run this business? Because if stuff happens, right, it's letting people go is a very painful human exercise that you don't want to do, especially if they've been great. If they're doing the work great and you're telling everything, you have to go because I can't afford you because there are no customers. And so for us, even at Sparkle, we're a lean and mean team. Everybody's still gainfully employed because we're digital. So we don't need to be physical. And most businesses need to start even looking at how we can put more digital and less human. And it doesn't mean that there will not be jobs for people. It means that there'll be more opportunities for other people to do things. You know, what we say about, at Sparkle, we're trying to play a role in redefining the commerce space in Nigeria. There's a lot of potential. It means that, every time you make a payment, it's either for exchange of goods and services. And if it's good, it's physical. It has to move from point A to point B. And so we don't have enough people who are moving things from point A to point B if we really get commerce going in Nigeria. So there are opportunities abound in the new transformation that we're going to.
So what does it take for one to be a part of Sparkle? What do I need to be a part of Sparkle? Apart from being a customer.
Well, I've already told you, first of all, for Sparkle, because we're a lean team, so the human requirements and our human resources are not that much. And so we are actually relying more on technology to provide services. So even if you look at customer support and customer service, it's going to be an artificial intelligence that is actually going to drive most of that. Because most questions people ask can be answered by Google Assistant. Hello, Google. Google Assistant does most of the things. I want to go from point A to point B. How long will it take me to get there? It tells you. Most people's questions are very specific, and then when they are very general, when they're specific, then there will be somebody to answer that question. So it's going to be lean. It's going to be lean. Now, to join Sparkle, I mean, like when we'll be in the App Store by this time next week. I mean, to join Sparkle is easy. All you need is a smartphone and data. So we know that if you don't have a smartphone or you don't use data, then Sparkle is not for you. Then Sparkle is a good reason, right, to join the digital wave that is coming across the world.
So now we've seen the world's transition. I mean, and when there's a shift, people end up sometimes in the broken side, and some people take advantage of the opportunity created. We've seen how CD-ROM music moved from the regular formats to CD-ROM, and then from CD-ROM, you have the flash key. Now we're seeing cloud, and we've seen books from the regular books. Now we're seeing Amazon, we're hearing even Audible. We're seeing all of these things. Now we're seeing banking, which is, we never talked about this, right? Now we're seeing banking that are becoming, they are coming up. We've seen several digital banks, but they are coming up, they are becoming something. We are just looking like they are just one of those things, but it's looking like they're coming up strongly. So what is it? What do you look out for? What are the things you see in the system for you to transition and say, hey, so that we don't stay on the broken path?
And that's a very good question. And the first thing is to keep, and that is why you have to stay connected and engaged to your customers, because your customers are they tell you what's going on. Changing customer behavior will give you an indication of how people are going to consume products and services or how they want things done. I have a couple of kids, I have 3 kids, and just by observing them, you can see that the way they access services, products, is completely different from the way we did. And it means that if you do not start tailoring your products and services in that manner, then you're going to go out of business very, very, very soon, even if you're successful today. So if you, for example, if you have a publishing business and you're not thinking of digital, my children don't read paper. They're either on their mobile or iPad. So you're going to have a challenge. If you're going to have a challenge in the future. My children don't go to banks at all. They don't understand what banks are. So if you don't have an online solution for them for everything, you're going to be out of business very, 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 very soon. So it's new businesses that are coming up, and it's the customers. Today, you have lots of before. If you wanted to start a business, you go and find your business, or if you find office space, and then you start hiring people, and then you're getting computers and systems. Today, you just don't do that. First of all, I mean, like today it's completely different. You don't even want to go to a bank. So if someone is offering you online service where you can start from your kitchen and start cooking and start delivering, and people can access and you can advertise on Instagram, then if your financial service provider is not seeing how your business is going and is not tailoring their service towards that, then there's going to be a shift by that person to another bank, and that is not just restricted to banking, but restricted that's the lesson all kinds of business. What you will find now is that, you know, when your client said, okay, they're traveling, so they will see you in 2 weeks' time, because no problem, wherever you go to, 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, we can do virtual training. So this is why these are the advantages of digital. It removes those physical restrictions that stops people doing more than they can do.
Okay, now we've seen resilience means that you would have to play again tomorrow. It means that, maybe I lost today or something, but tomorrow is another day. I'm still going there to play. What does it mean in business if to be resilient and say, hey, I must keep going? What does it mean?
I think first of all, I mean, like there's some things that are required to be resilient. First of all, you must have a good business, demand that people want, and then access to that product or service must be multiple channels. That's the resilience of it all. So if I'm in the food business, if people can't come to me, can I go to them? That is one thing that banking did very well. They realized that people were not coming to banks, so they came up with ATM machines, they came up with agency banking, and they came up with mobile online banking. So you're adding more resilience, and resilience for me is, if this channel is closed, do I have multiple channels of access to and through for my business? If my cash flow is restricted, do I have enough capital to absorb loss shocks? So that's what I would talk about resilience. And so resilience is, what are those things that, if this channel is blocked, do I have multiple backup channels, right? Just in case something happens for 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. Now the businesses that are going to survive this are the ones that have multiple channels of resilience that enables cash to continue flowing, or they have built a reserve and said, okay, because this is what happens. You also plan for, incidences in the event, and that's why people ask. I mean, like, you ask how much capital do you have in your business? With how much resilience, how much shock absorber in case shit happens, because shit happens a lot, especially in an economy like Nigeria, where we are susceptible to different types of economic. Now, this is biological shock, and this is the first that is good. This is the first of the case. And so it's a very good question you ask about resilience, because that's the kind of questions investors are going to be asking about businesses. It's not how profitable, show me your cash flow, show me the resilience of your business to a pandemic. That's what they're going to be interested in.
So now we are in a world where production, because of internet and technology, the way technology has moved, production is now in the hands of people. Before you do any production, there are lots of processes you have to go through. Now we're talking about, it's a great time to be 20, 25 years, because the world is saying, hey, we don't know how to do things anymore. We are looking for these young guys to come and lead us. And we have seen a global takeover where the young people are doing wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things, So what advice do you have for the young man? There are young men now in Nigeria. You're about 50 or over 50. Now, when you look back in hindsight, there are many things. I'm not saying you're out of scope now. You're still within scope because they're still evolving. We are seeing a lot of interesting things you're doing. So, what advice do you have for the young men that still have age within their side to do a lot of change in this world, so that Nigeria is not left behind?
I think you have to be hungry. Hungry is you have to be hungry, and hunger is like the other side of passion. You have to be hungry, or you have to have the passion about something. I think, I'm using myself as an example. I've always been hungry to learn about how I can do things a different way, right? Like, if I take over a position, how can I make it better, faster, cheaper? How can I continue, regardless of whatever it is? Because in today's world, what I've realized is that whatever you do is important. So people before would say, I know in Nigeria before, if you're not an engineer, a physicist, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or engineer, then if you came to tell your parents you want to be a musician, or you want to be an artist, or you want to be a creator, you think you must be crazy. But if you look at the world today, the jobs at risk are the scientific jobs, the ones that robots can do. The ones that people are looking for. I'm looking for somebody who can tell my story for me. I'm looking for somebody who can help me create content. I'm looking at somebody who has a diverse mind. So what I'm saying is that, one, beyond your own function that you are very good at, right? It is how can I learn from different industries to really enhance what I'm actually doing. I am tech savvy, as you say, but I know how to use devices, but I don't know anything about it. But the case is, like, if I work with somebody that codes or writes program, based on my knowledge of devices, based on what I've seen customers need and want, there's a higher chance that with a diverse group of people who are interested in what they're doing, we can come up with fantastic, innovative solutions for a lot of problems. So I think one is follow your passion, but in following your passion, don't have tunnel vision. Have a wide scope, right, and read around yourself. Today, everybody's reading about viruses. I'm sure now people are going to learn about viruses and take some knowledge into their business. It might be engineering, it might be law, but they're going to learn from this pandemic, and it's going to add to what they already know. Before they wouldn't have learned about it because it didn't affect them. It was affecting some other people. But COVID-19 is no respect for location, status, or age, or experience, or profession, and that's why there's a keen interest in this. And I think this is also going to spur a lot of learnings around what people do.
So what does it mean to show up even though we are afraid? This team may not work, but I have to show up. I have to get it to work. What is that process is? Because now you've gone into a different field entirely, even though it's within the banking sector. We've seen some success in that area. Nigeria, again, we have a lot of frictions. We are very, very conservative here. We are not too much open to change. Now we are seeing digital banking. I don't know how confident I am to put my money in some of the new. So what does it mean to show up even though you are afraid?
You have to have passion and conviction of what you're doing with some experience. Now, I know that it has worked before, and you take from experiences, and I think I'm taking from the experiences that I've had in the past. You know, before the new generation banks, they were just the first 5 banks. Then the new generation banks came and they succeeded, right?
Yes.
And now the new generation banks are, if you look at the top three banks, they're the biggest bank in Nigeria, and that took 30 years. Now, change is going to happen much faster. That is one. Secondly, and so and by the way, those banks are not resting on their oars. They are adopting those solutions that are going to keep them resilient through the future. Secondly, I don't think if you look at my history, what I did in Diamond Bank, 1, it was about small businesses. 2, it was about financial inclusion. 3, it was diversity, right? Bringing more women into businesses. And for us, it was finding the right partners and finding the right solutions. And if you look at what we did in Diamond Bank, it took us, with what we did in 5 years, we tripled our customer base, our number of small businesses, the services we're providing to them in the last 5 years, using digital than the 20 years before that when we were physical. So we grew our customer base from 5 to 15 million from in our 20th year to our 25th year. So there's a lot that we did in that time. And now, there's a lot that we couldn't do because of the restrictions and limitations of 1, our systems, 2, our physical infrastructure, 3, the mindset and the culture. Now, taking that into consideration, we're saying, what if we could enhance the mindset into looking at digital, get the same like-minded people who believe that digital is the future? What if we could put in place a mobile and agile system that will remove those limitations that we couldn't actually do in terms of more security, more scalability, more reach? And what if we went digital? What if we went physical? There was no physical element, which means the cost would drop dramatically. And those things that banks or other organizations with physical assets would have to charge for, we could do away with.
Yes.
Is that possible? And that's exactly what we're doing. So we're just extending the successes that we had in Diamond and saying, we believe that we can do this. We have seen it work in the past. We have talked to the customers, and we have seen people actually doing it in this environment at a small scale, but we want to do it at a bigger scale. And that's why we have, and we're not just doing it by ourselves, because we're not saying, okay, hey, I'm Sparkle, come and join our ecosystem. No. And in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be sharing information about our global partners that have said, we like what you're doing in Sparkle, we think it's going to make a change, and we're ready to back you and provide the necessary support for people to have confidence in that platform and join that ecosystem.
Were you afraid?
I read a book, and the guy who wrote Intel, I can't remember his name, was a great book, and he said only the paranoid survive. So I won't say it's fear, but it's always good to be paranoid. It's always good to look behind your shoulder and say who's coming behind you and what are those. If you have watched Carlito's Way, you have to always look for the blind spots. You don't know. And so yes, if you're not afraid, then you would not be watching out, and you would not be. So I won't call it fear. You just manage it, as my daughter says, right? You have to manage your fears, but you also have to have that, little tightness in your stomach to think, okay, what's next? What's happening? How do I make sure that I still stay in front?
So how do you balance chasing knowledge? I mean, in terms of reading and all of that, with actually developing skills?
No, I think everything that you do forms part of who you are and what you learn and the skills you acquire. But it is actually being aware of what is happening to you. And being aware of what's happening to you. And it's only until recently where I started, there's a reason for why your parents or your, older ones tell you to do certain things and you don't do it until it is too late. And it's like, writing down what happened during the day. So, I try to write. So like I have a conversation with someone and, it sparks some interest and I write it down. And when you read back at it, it helps you think, okay, this happened, this is what I acquired, this is what I learned. Because what happens is that every single day, the more people you talk to, and the more people that you allow to access you, the more information that you get, the more information that, in fact, the more of your knowledge is tested and questioned. Because so at Sparkle, for example, we don't have any hierarchy. We have an ethos of questioning the status quo. You can be challenged by anyone, whether it's the intern or whether it's your number two, and that way you're always questioning. You're always questioning. You're always learning as well, and you're always validating your beliefs. So people question. We're always continually questioning our strategy. This is the right strategy, and people ask that question, and that way it helps you see what's happening, and so that it helps deal with that fear of, who is my competition and all that. That is a daily and rigorous thing that we do. And so knowledge is, I think for knowledge, so like skills and knowledge is about the more access, the more information that you can have, the better that you go to get at things. When we were young, when I was much younger, the source of information was very limited. It was my parents, it was school teacher. We had TV only 1 hour in a day. My kids today, they're being bombarded. So their problem today is too much information. Then it was access and the time you access that information. But how today can you access information in a way that it doesn't drive you crazy or confusion? Because of course, confused. Because there's also that analysis paralysis. Sometimes you can get so much information that you spend so much time trying to analyze it that you don't make a decision at the right time. But the world is on the world. I mean, we're living in a world of uncertainty now, and so every piece of information that you get might not be valuable for you today, but it might be valuable tomorrow. But you have to find a way of storing it, keeping it, and being able to use it when the time comes. And that's where, believe me, so a simple thing is that's why people if you gave me a book to read today, I'll say thank you very much. Then I'll go and buy the digital version of that book and read it, because when I'm reading a Kindle, I can save, I can edit, I can store, and that book is with me forever. I don't have to tie it in my suitcase everywhere I go when I move houses.
What do you think? Do you think COVID-19 launched us faster into the future, or it took us back as a nation?
I think it launched, first of all, it helped us see the gaps that we have in our infrastructure. Infrastructure is physical and mental, even in our mental infrastructure. So we have to stop thinking the way that we were thinking. Because if you told me today that we had infrastructural problems, it would be the classic roads and health, new schools and everything. But school is not a place. School is something that can be cloud-based. Now today, you find that the schools that are going back to resilience, the schools that have already invested in a online infrastructure for their children. School is going to start next week for those people. So they're going to generate cash flows. People are going to pay school fees. People are going to monitor their children because they're going to be at home. For those who thought, I will do it later, there's no students, there's no cash flow, and then those people are going to go to this school. And so this is where, right? So this is how it's accelerated us faster. And then it's going to be a question of, okay, we can do more courses, well, we can invite. So because even travel is going to be a problem in the future. So instead of somebody leaving his country to come to Nigeria to be a guest lecturer, okay, don't worry, we'll do a guest lecture, we'll do a Zoom video conference or a Teams conference, and I can speak to people, because what you're doing is dissipating information. Even moving from Victoria Island to Kenya, you're going to question yourself, why do I need to go there? Can we have a WhatsApp? So it's not even like a Zoom call. Can we have a WhatsApp call? Can we have, because we are truly seeing is not as important as we thought it was before. Before it was, if I don't see this person, it's a problem. I remember, I used to at Diamond Bank, we were doing this before. We stopped having internal meetings, physical internal meetings, because it just was disruptive to the business. Our core business is meeting customers. It is not having meetings. So our meetings were virtual. So I think if we had 50 meetings, 48 of them were virtual. And so it would be, and we had more meetings. And I'm sure if you ask a lot of people, they'll probably be doing more work at home than they've done in office in the last few months, because there's a meeting, you don't have to drive anywhere. You cannot tell anybody that there was go slow or the rain fell or X, Y, Z. The only thing you can say is network connectivity. So one of the things that we're going to definitely focus. We're going to focus on mobile and telephony infrastructure. We're going to find ways, because we now know that I can teach people without them being in a physical location as long as I have the infrastructure. So we have to look at, we can change and modify curriculum very quickly because we don't have to buy textbooks and stuff like that. So it's really going to hopefully, and it's also going to, what it's going to do is going to hopefully accelerate the number of digital leaders that we have. And digital leadership is leading by example. Not saying, okay, guys, we're going to become digital. I am going to be the change agent myself. And I think at Diamond Bank, one of our successes, or one of the things that was successful at Diamond Bank, that we had a lot of digital leaders in that organization that would have adopted digital as a way to be competitively advantageous today and in the future.
So why we're looking at Nigeria as a context now. We've seen the infrastructural problem. We've agreed also that COVID-19 actually launched us into the future. Because I know that for a fact, my kids, the last section 10, they did it from home. They had their small corner to do their assignments, and they were following lectures from home. Teams, they were using Teams to do their lectures.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how wonderful. And then so they start calling, okay, you have to pay school fees stuff with this. Next time they're resuming next week. Actually, that's the
first time. Yeah, we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat.
Yeah. Now,
I hope the school fees are lower. I hope they're charging lower. Less.
We are going to tell them that they have to reduce it because there are a lot of things.
In fact, I think we should form a parents' coalition on this one.
we should have that solution. We need to talk to them. Now, what solutions can be preferred in making Nigeria a better tech country?
One, I think there must be a purpose. What are we trying to achieve? I mean, you can't just be tech for tech's sake. There must be a purpose. What are you trying to achieve, and how can you use technology to achieve that? How can we increase the number of people going to school and learning relevant stuff for the future? Because the future of work is a key issue. How can we use technology to provide access to people? And a typical example now is, imagine if everyone had their either biometric verification in Nigeria or identity, and government is trying to give, and all had an account, and government is trying to give aid to people. It should be easy. You know how much you've given, you can track it and all that. So we have to look at how we can use technology to do all these simple things that it is actually physically difficult to do today. And it's like, so it requires, first of all, what is the purpose? What is the technology that we're going to use? Because everybody knows today that, if you do not embrace technology as a country or as a business or as a community, you're going to be excluded. That is the new level of exclusion. But you must have a purpose for it. I mean, like, if you can look at countries like Dubai, and you can see how Dubai has used technology to transform their business, their country from an oil dependent to a different type of destination. Same can be said about Singapore as well. So if you look at all these countries that don't have limited natural resources, or know that their natural resources are going to die, they've actually used technology to transform their business. The UK even is another good story. Another good example of how technology is actually used to do stuff in terms of using contactless. They were one of the first countries to transform their whole transportation system using contactless, and completely changed the way commerce is actually done. And in Nigeria, we have a head start, and that head start is that we are a mobile-dependent economy. Most people have mobile phones. Most people actually make payments through their mobile, not through their debit cards or through point-of-sale machine. So we already at that. How can we scale it? How can we make it much bigger? And how can we just bring more trust into that system? I know as Sparkle, so like we have some values. I mean, one of the values that we have, is trust, transparency, simplicity, and inclusion. Because we think those are the drivers. Those are the drivers that is needed to scale things. Because if it's simple, I understand. If it's transparent, I trust it. If I trust it, I include myself in it, right? And if there's no restriction in terms of, I don't have to think about it, freedom, I do it, then that is what. So everything that we do at Sparkle is based, because we know we're a technology company. We know that people still have challenges transiting from physical to digital still, because there's a trust element. We have to take that. There's a trust issue, because this is new to me. I'm human. I'm used to my old habits. If it's so you have to consider that when you're developing your solutions, when you're communicating. Even, I mean, I'm so excited. I can't wait to launch our app. When you see it, it's completely simple. The language is simple, so that people can understand, and it's quite intuitive. And so those are the things that have to be looked at and considered.
Okay. So what? I want to go to you now. Do you cook? What do you do? Do you cook? Do you take pleasure in the kitchen?
Well, for me, I believe that if someone is better than me at cooking, why should I be challenging myself? But I do. Well, and so that's where we have it. But I do, and that's a funny story. I come from a family of all boys, and my mother was a very strong woman, and so when she did not believe that we would sit on the couch, 4 or 5 boys, and then she did all the cooking. So she dragged us into the kitchen, and so we learned how to cook. So I know how to cook stew, I know how to cook rice. And I think 3, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, just before the breakout of COVID-19, I was telling my daughter I was going to cook. My daughter I was going to cook for them, and they were laughing at me and everything. And we actually recorded it. And I was cooking pasta for them, and pasta sauce, and they were, look, when I said I'll cook, they started laughing and stuff like that. But they'd never seen me cook. But we can cook. But we know that we can do it, and we know that we can. It's part of our values. We know we can do these things, and that's why it's good to learn all these things. Because all these things, enable you to be independent, enable you to be free as well, and which is part of our philosophy. And then going back, and I forgot to mention, going back to what you asked about acceleration into the future. Before, and cash is a classic example. Before, it was very difficult to change people's mindset about cash. They always say cash is king and everything. But now with COVID-19, people have been saying, I don't want to touch cash because cash might be holding. I don't want to touch your cash. So even that mental acceleration of thought is actually what's going to help accelerate us into the future by saying, that, but we can make payment by mobile. Now, all we have to do is try and find a faster way to do that. And I think once there are enough people that are interested, you will see the innovation. And I believe that innovation in the next 6 months after COVID, especially in Nigeria, is going to be huge. But more importantly, adoption is going to be better than it was in the past, because people's appreciation and awareness has been heightened since COVID-19, and people talking about different ways to access services, and also businesses showing that they are resilient. And if you think about it, there are a lot of Nigerian businesses that have shown resilience. I'm going to do it is better than I'm going to try. At least it's a more purposeful statement, and you're setting your mind to actually achieve it. I will try and do 5 kilometers running. Is not as strong as I'm going to go and do 5 kilometers run. Exactly. So I really like that, and I think that's something that we need to adopt in Nigeria. We are going to do it. We're going to put that infrastructure in place. We're going to be a digitally driven, data-driven country. Not that we're going to try. We're going to do it, and these are the things that we need to do.
I like it. Do or do not. There's no try. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I like it. So what book are you reading right now?
Well, in fact, I just finished reading a book. So, I read in the last 10 years, I'm reading like the books on a lot of business or different or not fiction. So, but this I said I need to read some fiction to to stimulate my creative juices. But I just finished reading a book called Bias, and I can't remember the name of the author. I'm very bad at remembering the author, but basically they talk about bias. I mean, like she worked for the lady who worked for as a consultant for the police department in America, and talks about how bias affects people's decision making, and it is not an intentional, deliberate thing. It depends on your nurture, your exposure. the people that you have met in school. So if you have gone to a school where there were only black people, for you, all white people look the same, and vice versa. So when we call people are biased, you're also biased towards how people think about you, and you react in that manner. It's very, very interesting, and we do that a lot in life without actually doing that. And it's a protective mechanism that the brain does. So you have to be continuously feeding your brain. So that was, it started off, I was thinking, God, this is another book about, black people and white people, but it was actually much more than that. It was very, very stimulating. And now I'm reading a fiction, and I can't remember the name of that. I just started it, and it's about, the Cold War, and Russia building a bomb that was going to destroy the whole world. But reading is important. So I try to read a book. I read a lot of, we read a lot of stuff, but we don't read books, whether it's fiction or fact. I think I try, but I feel that, I'm determined to do it. I'm not trying anymore. I'm reading the books. I'm adopting my own faith. There's no try. It's do or do not.
A physical book or audio book? What do you skew to?
No, I don't want to hear. I want to read. So it's a Kindle. So it's a digital book. Okay. And like I said, digital. Imagine all the books that you've read in the past, and there's some great quotes in books. Where do you store them? Where do you keep them? Where do you write them? And that's the problem with physical books. Now with my Kindle, I have it stored in the cloud. And so I know I can pull back to it. So if I said I read this particular book on strategy, I can go back to that book, put a keyword in, and that quote will come, and you use that to tell stories. And that, storytelling is, the sweet stories are the stories that, people take experiences from different cultures, different situations, different experience, and cook that story and tell people. A guy that has lived in one particular place or read one particular thing or done one particular job, the access to information, the stories that they can tell will be very limited. Your storytelling is based on how you allow yourself to access information and people to access you.
And I see that you're a film freak. You love films. You love movies. You love.
Oh yes, I do. I like films and movies because one of my passions, one of my hobbies is photography. I take a lot of photography because photography is about capturing moments and capturing time that you can actually go back and look at it in time. It tells the story. And it's like, in today's world, it's about capturing data. And then the movies is just a progression of that. Movies is moving pictures. That's what it is. It's pictures moving. And when I watch movies, you look at how it's made, the production, the storytelling, even the challenges. And I think if you want to, if you look at some movies, you wonder how were they made? How was this movie made? How did they solve the problems of making it real and getting people immersed? So that's why I'm interested. And in tomorrow's world, and which is starting today, the winners are the ones who are going to tell the best stories. So stories to change people's mind, stories to convince people to leap before they look. Because one of my great models. When you ask me who do I try to model things around, is Alexander the Great, and this is a guy that with a small army from Greece conquered half of the world. And to do that, you have to convince people that as small as we are, we can rule half of the world. And it came from his experience, his storytelling, and his power of persuasion.
Wow. There are many things we can talk about regarding movies, but I don't want to. Should we expect you to go into movies one of these days? Because you're a man that has been transitioned. So there's a lot of transition still in the future.
No, we're definitely going to do a movie somehow. Me and a few friends of mine, we're already planning it. We think I think Nigeria and Lagos have a lot of stories to tell. Movies is about telling stories, about showcasing who you are, what you are, your culture, your identity, and it's definitely something and it's also part of education, and also part of pride. You watch an American movie, Americans are proud of themselves because of the movies that they tell about themselves, how they make themselves feel great, right? Germany, unfortunately, another extreme side is, during Hitler's time, propaganda. They told a great story about a Germany that was not there, but people believed it. We don't tell enough good stories about Nigeria. Look at the movies. I think there are some great stories. People just like bad news and, slaughtering and witchcraft and all those unnecessary things. But there are some nicer, emotional, thought-provoking movies, stories that people can tell. I want to play. We want to be part of that story. And we have some. Me and a gang of people have some stories that we want to tell, to bring to life and showcase to the world, not just Nigerians, about how special we are.